Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
So welcome back to another episode of How Leaders Behave. In this episode, we're going to do two things primarily. We're going to do a quick recap of the model so that you understand where that comes from. It will be well worth us saying actually that before you dive into this model on this episode, it would be worth looking at episode 1 if you've not already done it, because it will give you some basis of understanding of where we're working from. Having said that, we'll do a brief recap, and then we're going to look at the attributes of the pioneering leader, the challenges of the pioneering leader, and what the pioneering leader can learn from styles that are diametrically opposed to his or hers. So really looking forward to it. As always, I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Peter Agnew. Beautiful shirt today, Peter.
Thanks, Mark.
You're
always
welcome.
Appreciate it. Never set the standard with your shirts, though, so well,
This
well
is
done
a cracker,
as always. So the driving forces behind pioneering leaders is our topic today, and it's a really interesting one in that this leader is that real sort of trailblazer in some ways. It's that sort of leader that's out in front, probably what I like to call a map maker rather than a map follower in some ways.
Absolutely. It's interesting, isn't it? When you look at leaders, typically we think of, the people that promote themselves, that think themselves more important. And so it typically ends up being the people that want the leadership roles promote themselves to get the leadership roles. They join and affiliate and make sure that they get the maneuver made so that they end up at the top job. Yeah. Whereas sometimes the people who should get the job are the exact opposite of this. So it's an interesting conversation, and I'm certainly looking forward to unpack this particular style with you this morning, Peter. So it's going to be good.
So if we do have a look at the model we've been using in this series, it is the 8 dimensions of leadership model. In this episode, we look at the driving forces behind pioneering leaders. So Mark, we're at the top of the model here, the pioneering approach. Some of the behaviours that sort of pop out here in our 24 behaviours, the 3 really important ones for leadership that leaders do need to have no matter where they sit, is about finding opportunities, finding new things for the business, bringing in new business. It's about stretching the boundaries and promoting bold action. These leaders are the best at it. The leader that sits at the top. When we say sits at the top, though, it does relate to a behavioural style model that we've also talked about in episode 1. So maybe just take us through very quickly the DISC model again.
So it's not about being the top of all leaders. It's just being about geographically on the map there being at the top. So as you can see, people who live in the DIID dimension, so their little dot would live somewhere very close to the action priority in the DISC model. And it's interesting, if action is your major priority in the DISC model, then creating new challenges, promoting bold action and stretching the boundaries, that's all around activity and action and doing new things and being creative, thinking outside of the box. These leaders typify those sorts of behaviors and actions. And what we're going to do in this episode is dive into, so what do you look like? What do you look like to other people as that leader? What are some of the benefits? What are some of the challenges? And then what we're going to do is we're going to dive all the way down to the humble leader and look at the antithesis of your style and what is it that the humble leader has and how effective they are and the things that you can learn from them to round out your leadership experience. So that's what this episode's about, and we're looking forward to it.
Definitely. We are looking forward to it. And to start us off, we probably just have a little bit of a chat around the pioneering leader and what a pioneering leader does that if you're not in that space in the DISC profile, you can learn from in some ways. So why do you think we need pioneering leaders in the workplace? What value does this approach to leadership bring?
So I guess if you look at a pioneering leader may or may not have come up from maybe the sales environment. So they would be the guy that would be out banging doors. They don't mind getting rejection. They're looking for different verticals or different channels of where they can take their product into. And that skill would be recognized and they would be promoted into that leadership role. That's a very typical evolution of how a pioneering leader might come to that leadership position. Similarly, they might be they might be in an engineering background where they, again, highly creative, they're great at getting people along with them. So that's then how they end up in that leadership position, I guess.
So if we unpack the finding opportunities, which sits at the top, one of the behaviours or one of the 3 behaviours of the pioneering leader, finding opportunities isn't just about things like sales and business development. It might be things like, how do I attach to the external environment to bring new ideas into the business? And it might be, do I attend conferences? Do I network with people outside the business? How do I bring new information into the business? And I think out of all of the leadership behaviours, the top one that pops up in things like 360-degree surveys is where people around a leader say, we want you to bring more information into and find opportunities for this business. So it's the external environment in some ways, isn't it? Yeah,
and it's about, finding better processes. It's about listening and watching to information like this, bringing information into the organization to say, hey, how can we do what we do better? How can we work with our people better? And I guess that's what the pioneering leader is about. It's about making it fresh, making it lively, making it an exciting place to come to work. They're not really interested in the same old. They want it to be better and fresher and faster and bigger and better than it was before.
And in some ways it leads to the other behaviours around stretching the boundaries in some ways. So sometimes leaders just create an impression that we're comfortable around here, everything's okay, but a pioneering leader, and again we can take this advice from, no matter where we sit, a pioneering leader will actually ask people to use discretionary effort and to stretch themselves a little bit more. They'll stretch themselves, they'll be highly motivated, but they'll also stretch others to get out of their comfort zone and sometimes really push the boundaries of where a team is in some ways as well.
I think the word is completely descriptive of what it is we're describing. It's a pioneer, someone who's going to, to go to places that no man's been before. I mean, that's exactly what they are doing. It is in every area of how can we manage our stock control better? How can we do distribution better? How can we do marketing, sales, the whole aspect of our business? How can we look at what other people are modeling and how can we implement that into our business and make us do it better, quicker, faster? And they are so energized by bringing that information into the organization.
And then the final one is around boldness, so promoting bold action. So 2 words there, bold and action. For this leader, it really is about risk-taking, about uncertainty, being adventurous, taking action. In some ways, it's probably a little bit of the guns blazing, the sort of impression I get in my mind when I talk about bold action.
Yeah, I think the pioneering leader is never really in doubt of their intuitive position. You can't teach intuition, it's just what you have. And I think that's one of the challenges that we will go into, is that the bold action piece comes from them wanting to generate new ideas, that they know intuitively what they want to do. And it's big, it makes a statement about what we're going to do and who we are and how we represent this organization. And that's, everything they do is big and loud, and certainly taking massive leap forward is part of the pioneering leader. They are not about assessing risks and taking it step by step. They want the
leap of faith in some ways.
Yeah, the next big thing. That's what they're interested in.
So a pioneering leader will have a couple of things that bring real strength to the business and the organisation. We know it relates to our DISC profile, but also they'll bring some areas that are when they're at their best, they bring some real advantages to the organisation and to the business and to the team. So for a leader, if she's sort of in this approach and she is a pioneering leader working as a team, there's going to be some natural behaviours that at their best they produce a lot of energy around, and some of the things here around new ideas and direction, Mark.
So they are people that for people that sit around that northern hemisphere, and particularly if you're northwest, I suppose, northeast, I beg your pardon, the IS
of the DISC profile.
You're going to come in. These people are going to feed off energy. They're going to provide energy. They take chances. They'll make a decision, and if it's wrong, they'll make it right. They're driven and passionate, and everything about them is inspiring to a point where it can almost appear a little bit manipulative sometimes, I guess. But it's
probably leads us into some of the worst attributes or things that when they're not at their best in some ways, or some of the challenges that they may have in their particular leadership style. So sometimes the pioneering leader can come across as a little bit overconfident, sometimes a lot overconfident in their own abilities, and sometimes a little bit of using that sort of charm to sort of push through and get people's buy-in and get people on board in some ways.
Well, as it says there, who will use their charm to gain support for even poorly thought out ideas. So they are they're so engaging that if the idea is still poorly thought out, people are almost intimidated to come to them and say, hey, look, I'm not sure this is a good idea. And even if they do, they'll use that charm to almost bully their position to go straight through. And so, you've thought up this wonderful idea, and then somebody's come to you and said, look, there's some problems, there's some challenges here. The pioneering leader is at their worst will have a tendency not to listen to that feedback, because they'll be so convicted and convinced of their own ideas and opinions that what would this person know?
Great. And we do have a fantastic table just to give us a little bit of an idea of the pioneering leader at a glance. If I just pop back one slide there, you'll see we've got some headings here, Mark, around some of the goals around pioneering leadership, or for pioneering leaders, how they judge others by, they're influenced by, they may overuse under pressure, etc. So if we walk through those very quickly, goals, very quick, new opportunities, exciting breakthroughs and so forth. A little bit about judges others by.
Yeah, so they're looking at how effective other people are around them by how others project confidence, how others influence other people, because they value this so much in themselves that's the way that they judge other people. And when they're with someone who's the antithesis, who is, say, a humble leader, who won't be into that inspirational, confidence influencing piece, they will judge them poorly because they are not like them, which is, a massive miss.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.